Welcome, brothers. I'm in deep appreciation of your presence. I'm, I love the team of myself and Nimai so much because we really complement each other well. And it was Nimai's idea to do this spotlight view on everybody. And for me, when I've been watching, it has been highly, highly touching. I find myself in tears. The idea that brothers are taking the time to actually sit with each other and come together and start to share from a different quality of place, a place that historically or generations past would not have touched, maybe in certain small circles. And here we are with this humble idea that was ReMENber and COVID, and now we're sitting and there's over 140 people ready to receive and meet and connect and open our hearts and dream into our commonalities and our brotherhood. It's greatly touching. My name is Frank Mondose. I'm one of the co-founders, along with Nimai, of ReMENber Brotherhood Journey, a project that started not so long ago. I'm just recently announced ISTA lead faculty. And ReMENber is a work of love between the brotherhood of Nimai and myself. And this talk that we're going to do, this transmission that we're going to offer, this sharing that we're going to have is going to be led by Nimai, who also is a ISTA apprentice faculty, and he is the reason for the ReMENber journey to have been birthed. He had an idea, and we were jamming one day in Costa Rica, and this idea came through, and I said, I'm in, hell yes, let's do it. And from there, we've already had 2 ReMENber journeys in Costa Rica, and this year in 2020, we had the plan to do 3 in 4 countries. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, without further ado, I want to pass on to Nimai, my dear brother, who is a beautiful complement to my energy. I'm usually like a lot of fire and a lot of aliveness and a lot of yang, and Nimai as well has this yang that I trust so much. But what he brings to me and how he continues to teach me is the quality and the tenderness of his heart that touches me very much. And I'm so happy to be offering this talk and this journey with him and our other brothers, Philippe as well as Gilly. And I want to do a quick shout out to the ReMENber tribe elder, Starhawk, who is here, and some other brothers that have graduated before of the ReMENber. So without further ado, Nimai, take it away.
Hey, brothers. Wow. It was super beautiful to see many that we know. Some brothers that, as Frank mentioned, have been with us in the ReMENber journey. And there is a sensation I feel right now that I didn't expect, of the potency of having the possibility to have a men's circle in some level, men's square, from all around the world in the same time. And it brings me at the moment, and I think it's relevant, that not too long ago in my men group that I'm a part of, one brother had a vision of creating this huge global prayer, and with many medicine musicians from all around the world. And we started, okay, let's go with this. And in the end, it called Canta Como Amor. And there was almost 10,000 participants over there. And we were shocked that it went so far. And my vision was to have only male bodies, brothers, kind of prayer together. And I understand that now this is it. It manifested without me even thinking that this is how I'm going to manifest this, or this is how it wants to be manifested. So thank you that you are here and taking a part of, in some way, a prayer that we're going to come to. Thank you, Frank, brother, for standing here with me and again in this journey. And I'm going to speak a little bit about what is the ReMENber and how it was born and so on. But for me, it was born from a place that understanding the need for brothers to meet. Just to meet. There is a frequency, there is an energy when brothers are sitting together and really meet. And what do I mean by saying really meet? It means that this is the moment when we can feel each other, spirit, energy, soul, vibration, truth, whatever word you want to put into it. But this is a moment that we are able to see one another without the mind speaking or judging or giving any kind of interpretation about the other person in front of us. And through the other person, I meet myself. And when I'm allowing myself to be met by another person, give this reflection and receive this reflection, something is shifting, something is changing. So feeling into the vibration of the world and what is happening around the world right now, and I will come into this in just a few minutes. There was a moment I thought to myself, okay, I'm part of ISTA organism, which is an amazing organism. Many of you are now visiting the second day of a bit of transformation. Maybe some of you brothers here are ISTA graduates. Maybe some of you are not. I am honestly curious, but we don't have the possibility to now go over each person understanding who is a graduate and who is not. But it speaks for both. And why? Because it is complementing one another. To go through brotherhood journeys and then to be able to go through to more depth journeys, it's an empowering moment. And when I had a download that honestly is just something that came through about the ReMENber journey, I set up with Frank in Costa Rica in a beautiful house of another brother, Gili, that is at the moment one of the brothers leading the brotherhood journeys. We just sat, and what the vision needed was a kind of a fuel, full power, energetic, yang mode, taking it forward, bringing it to the outside, shouting it, bringing the word, and me being more soft many times, more, you can relate to it as feminine, but for me it's just a beautiful game role between the masculine and feminine, that the masculine is more in ease many moments, doesn't mean that it cannot go very direct. Then Frank came to the picture, and Frank was the motor. And for me, even as the vision come through what I call my body, without the fire, without the wood that you can put inside the fire, this journey cannot be taken forward. So we designed this journey to take brothers into a space that what happens when you are able to meet one another? What happens when we are getting the reference point of tribe? Now, this is a key point. In today's society, we live in what we call more as the individual kind of consciousness. We are all mostly taking care of ourselves, our houses, our nuclear families, my business, my partners, my children, and so on and so on and so on. For some of us, it's not black and white. For some of us, we have more openness. We live more a bit in tribal kind of consciousness. We have more brothers and sisters that maybe we even take care of their children in moments and or we also give a shoulder for one another. And in the same time, we are still living in an individual culture. Understanding that and knowing that the frequency that I feel that the earth is calling is something more communal. There is a calling back for a tribal. Now, how do we get into a tribe if we don't sit and meet? To get into a tribe, to sit together in a circle that we are all feeling a part of the tribe, we need to meet one another. And this is something that's being prevented from men. So we designed the ReMENber Journey. It's a 5-day journey, 5 nights, 5 days, with a grand finale kind of integration night in the end that usually we just have a lot of fun, no curriculum, no nothing. We just take the entire week and bring it into life and feel how it is. And there is a few brothers, as Frank mentioned, that I already saw here, our elder Starhawk, Mark, their dear brother that is here, and I saw Aleko as well. That we kind of take the entire journey that we were onto into this night and just play it out and feel what does it mean to sit together in a circle in a tribe. Now, today's talk is about, in some way, the masculine role in transformation. Now, masculine role in transformation is transformation. Is sitting in the chaos, in the moment, in the presence, and being aware of the transformation. So it's kind of a tricky to give this name for this journey that we are starting now, but it's just to understand that we all need to find what is the vibration that we hold in our life that moves us forward. Now, why do we talk about the man role today? So we live in times that what we talk a lot about is woman rising. And it's super important that we speak about that. And we speak about the importance of how do we actually raise our children. Is it serving? Is it still serving? Is it something that needs to shift? What's happening with the way we educate the children, and why is it education and not initiation? And this is something we're also going to go into. We speak about equality between genders, between sexuality, equality between all colors, all religions. We speak about many kind of elements. And then in some point, because we perceive the world is being dominated by masculinity, or I would say dominated by men, and this is what we perceive. The world is dominating by men. So because of that, now we need to put the man in some level on the side. And there is a lot of unspoken elements over there. Now, if you look at the way that the world is being managed today, you say it's a man's world. The men rule today in the world, and the world is super fucked up. The shit is hitting the fence again and again. War is happening all over the place. Violence is rising. And of course, in the same time, there is beauty that is happening, and there is a lot of roundness that we relate more to the feminine. But there is an injustice that I want to speak about at the moment that we say that this is a man world. And the injustice is that this is not men that rule the world. They are male bodies that we perceive that are taking the world forward to where the world is now, and who knows where it will get. But this is not a man. And this is kind of the place that we want to dive into today, because to even understand what is the role of a man in transformation, we have to kind of go a bit backward and kind of start to dissolve the idea of what is a man. And taking a deep breath into that. From time to time, I will remind us to breathe, because I also remind myself to breathe, because this topic can really excites me and really turns me on. And there is a ease I want to be in when I discuss about these topics. So when we look at the way that the man is ruling today in the world, there is a lot of unspoken words. And the unspoken words is about what man needs to hold today, and how much it's actually not so easy to hold that. for example, holding the weapons as being warriors of today. And the warriors is not just today, it's for centuries and centuries that the men are the one that being responsible and have to go forward into the battlefield in many different kind of forms and kill and being killed. And this is something that we carry with us. And what does it even mean? In their history, there was moments that people that were going into war could not go into their homes unless they went through a full cleanse. And this is something that is not so much happening today. Where is our suffering? Where is our oppression? Where do we speak about our emotional disability and the blockages that we carry from the expectation of what does it even mean to be a man? It can be challenging. For example, if now I speak about how men are suffering and there is an injustice and there is a oppression also on men and so on, it can be triggering. And this is one of the reasons we wanted to have this talk only with male bodies, because it's not necessarily a space that for any woman that carries different kind of traumas being happening from men, it's easy to carry this potency. So we asked, and we've been invited by the ISTA online festival to give this journey only for the male bodies, to kind of bring this transmission over to this, because this topic, again, can be triggering. Because when we speak about this, immediately traumas can be activated. So I want to explain that we need to speak about our sacrifices as warriors and the way that we are supposed to endure pain. We need to endure pain and take every pain and hold it inside and not let it out and not let it be expressed and so on. And then there is also the emotional, I would say, castration. I think this is the right word to say to it. I see Frank is nodding to me. Frank is also my grammar advisor. So it's nice I can see him also in the window, because anytime I have my English is not the best there is. And also, I just want to drop it in here, because suddenly I see this voice in my head. This is the first time myself is giving an online journey, online talk. Frank is more experienced in this than me. So there is also a certain amount of stress. And then there is a place of remembering that one of the purpose of men, the way I see it, is we have nothing to we have nothing to achieve. So I don't look for perfection here. So I'm also saying it to myself and also saying to you, we don't need to look for perfection right now in this conversation. And there is nothing actually that we try to achieve, but there is something that we want to allow the presence of it to be here. And for us to witness that. For us to witness what does it mean to hold the role of carrying a male body today. Because a lot of the things, the shit that is happening around the world, when we look at that, there is a finger pointing, and this finger pointing straight to the male. You're the responsibility. We have all the expectation from you. And it started from the moment that we were very young, I would say. There is all the man up, be a man. I wish I could see all of your faces like sitting in a circle of saying, yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I'm going to have to nod myself. Man up, be a man. Don't cry. Just don't cry. Thank you, Robert. I saw that. Don't cry. Don't be a pussy. I want to say something about don't be a pussy. One of my greatest masters, very beautiful brother, Frank Monduzet, spoke about this sentence, don't be a pussy. And I loved so much what he said, because he said that it's kind of ironic, because a pussy can get pounding, yeah, can endure pounding. But our testicles, our balls, they're so sensitive. They're actually so sensitive that just a small puck can cause so much pain. So where did we come up with even this sentence, don't be a pussy? No, be a man. Be a
Well,
man.
it goes with grow some balls, right? Grow some balls and don't be a pussy. So it's like, what are we talking about? Women endure a shit ton of stuff, and they're still here, and they're still strong, and they're still inspirations to us. So yeah, quite fun. Anyways, I hand back to you, brother. Keep going.
So this place of being in our life, and I want to give just an example from my life that is just happening now. In the past, I think 2 weeks or so, I had 2 moments in my relationship. I want also to present that I am a new father to this world. I have a 3.5 months baby. And in many moments, I called him ReMENber Baby, because he was born in some level out of the ReMENber journeys, because something shifted in me that could really, thank you, that could really take me forward to this commitment of being a father. Now, being a father is quite a journey, possibly the craziest workshop I've ever been in. And maybe in some point, my partner and the baby will come in, so I also want to present as that. But in the past 2 weeks, I had 2 moments that some like emotions started to rise. One of them was because of the Memorial Day in Israel, which is connected to soldier, warrior, battle. I am an ex-army man. I was a soldier. I'm a veteran. I got injured in the army. Shit happened when I was in the army, and shit is still happening even when I'm not in the army all the time. So there was some emotions rising, and there was a lot of sensitivity rising that even I was not fully aware of. And as I brought it forward, the reaction I received from the outside was, in some energetic level, don't be so sensitive. And don't mistake, my partner is probably the most supporting person I've ever met in my life for me. And at the same time, there is still this consciousness that we are carrying, as we carry as men towards women, as women carry towards men, and so on and so on. And we can go all over that. But there is still this loops that we are stuck. This kind of, I'm missing the word for it. Probably Frank already knows what I'm speaking about. But it's the point that we are repeating on something constantly with some kind of a loop that even when I bring emotions, then my partner don't be such a pussy, don't be so emotional. Why are you so emotional? I'm going to bring a reaction super unemotional to your emotions. And then my emotion shut down even more. Lucky, not lucky, but thanks to my choices, I can work with her on that. So we can still work on this and we can still process it afterwards. But this is something that for me stroked me very strongly to understand that even me, with all the work that I'm doing and so on, still there is this emotion rising that I'm not even aware of. And suddenly there is this voice coming, shut them down. You're not supposed to be so emotional. So what if people dying? So what if crazy shit is happening all around the world? You're not supposed to feel all of that. There is an expectation to provide and to perform in all elements in our life. If it's the work, if it's sexuality, if it's the way that we handle power, if it's the way that we handle women, if it's the way that we handle responsibility, there is always a level of expectation, and there is always a level of how much you can provide that is being asked from us. And even not asked, in some level, even needed. So this is something for me to drop here, so we can all take a breath into it, because I'm pretty sure many of you kind of understand what I'm talking about. I would say, imagine even when you are a teenager, and when you are a teenager, there is this whole moment that you are starting to open to sexuality. And when I'm opening to sexuality, there is all these expectations of I have to perform, I have to be the best lover, she have to orgasm at least 3 times, and I need to hold it strong. If by any chance I will have ejaculations before I want them to happen, or I will not be full erected, or so on. It means I failed. I have failed to be a man, because a man is always hard, because a man is always in control. And in those days, being a teenager, we turned into porno to give us the point of reference of how we're supposed to do it, which pretty much fucked us fully. And we're not going into porn today. This is a different topic. Not different topic, but a different conversation, I would say. But it does play a role here, because it was an imprint that many of us received as we were young and until today. So me not being a man because I'm not performing. And there is this element of I've failed to be a man. There is a journey that we need to go through. And many of us are not aware of it. Many of us didn't receive the transmission for it. Many of us didn't receive the guidance that we have to go through failure. Failure is a part of life. If we don't judge it as a failure, it's just another stone on your path that you need to go through. Just another challenge that we have to go through. And back in the history of the tribes, of the different traditions, and pretty much where I look into, because I like very much to look into initiations in different tribes around the world. And in many different tribes around the world, thousands of years already, there is an initiation path for a man. The woman goes through her initiation path, which many times connect to her moon cycle. And the man, it's kind of connect to the moment that it start to blossom, the sexuality, sexual energy started to move, something is starting to rise and so on. And there is all those different kind of initiations throughout the world. And those initiations usually encourage you to go through failure, to go through pain, to go through different kinds of emotions, to go through feeling abandoned, to go through feeling that you are alone. And I would say in some level, it all takes you to the place of, I'm going to die. What happens when I'm dying? So we are in the year 2020. The society is moving through crazy shifts. Only in the past, I would say even 100 years of technology advance that we were not even imagining that is possible. All the information is open for all of us to see, but there is something that happens when we have all this information. There is a lot of disconnection. And for me, for example, sitting here with you in the Zoom talk, this is a moment that we take the possibility of technology and we use it in a way that possibly serves us. Maybe it's one of the biggest men circles internationally that ever happened. I have no idea, personally, but I will not be surprised. And this is a moment that we take it into service for us. But when we grew up, we didn't have all these initiations. So not having this initiation, we meet the world from an immature, unaware place. And this immature, unaware place start to plays out. The point of reference for fathers, the point of reference for mother we received as children were a lot of distorted masculine, distorted feminine. And I just want to lay it here for a moment that we are aware that there are others not in the male bodies that feel themselves as men. And we see them and we honor them. And the reason we decide that these journeys are only for the male bodies for now is, first of all, it's because this is where we are at. We are still learning how to see the journey of those not in the male bodies feeling themselves as a man. And also there is a journey that we go through as beings in a male body that others don't go through. As a woman is giving birth in her life or have the possibility of giving birth, we don't have this possibility. We have a different possibility to go for a different kind of birth. So this journey is for the one in the male bodies, because your relationship in your history with other men, with your genitals, with your relating to the feminine or the women, whether it's external, whether it's internal, it's something that we went through. And I do pray and hope that will come a moment that those journeys will be open for all those who feel themselves as men. And we are in discussion about it, and we are thinking about it, and we are trying to find a way, but it's subtle. So we have to listen deeply and not go through just our mind. I want to say, to make everybody happy. But this is where we are at now. I wanted to drop it here for a moment. Frank, do you have anything to add at this moment?
Do you want to send him into the breakout, and then I could pick up after that?
Yeah. So
wait, before we go there, yeah, I want to speak one thing about the ReMENber journey as we enter into the place of identifying. So I think Nimai did a fantastic job here, like just giving us permission to actually feel into the journey of what it was to be a man growing in this culture at this time, and really setting the context of, acknowledgement of the man's journey. One thing I feel is that for a long time, it's because we're men and because we're the dominant gender in society that, our journey has to take a second back seat. And it does. Culturally, it does, because we have to shift and share power and learn how to transfer that power to women in order to balance our society. However, a side effect of that, and it's okay to acknowledge that there's a side effect of that, is that men's journey or men's pain is not being acknowledged. And it hasn't been acknowledged in the past when we had dominance, and it's not being acknowledged now when we're being pointed towards being a big part of the cultural problems. So it's like, where is our place to express? And I think Nimai did a good job of encapsulating that piece. One thing I want to speak clearly about the ReMENber journey, in this moment, we're doing a very clear transmission, us to you. But when we sit and remember, and one of the values and core foundational aspects that we have in ReMENber, and the reason why we run with 4 facilitators, is because when we have 4 facilitators, the power is forced to be shared, and that is what the brotherhood is. It's not about one person holding the throne and everybody else being the minions. It is about having brothers like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. It's like we all have a voice here. And the most beautiful thing that I love about the ReMENber journey is, of course, there's parts where we're transmitting and we're taking people through journeys to have the ahas. And then there's specific times when we actually open the circle for the wisdom of the circle. And that's when Nimai speaks about we're not perfect, even if it's our first time on Zoom or even all our positions. The one thing that's clear about us is that we are open to continuously doing the self-evaluation personally as ReMENber as well, to constantly move and shift to where there is more light now. It's like we can't always judge ourselves from the past reference point when there was no consciousness or no awareness or no knowledge or less knowledge, less wisdom. So as we move and we grow, there's more light, and then we can move from that place. And for us, we strongly feel that the circle holds light, multiple light bulbs. And this is what we are looking to harvest when we are at the ReMENber journey. And this is part of transformation as well. And the first part of transformation is acknowledging that we don't have to do it alone, that we sit in a circle and that we have allies that could have our back and be in this journey with us. So on that point, I think Nimai wants to ask you a few questions to consider. And then he's going to send you into breakouts to have just a quick conversation to feel into these topics. So Nimai?
Thank you, brother. It was perfect. This was perfect for me. I think that there was a beautiful comment that just went up my screen, that the circle is the facilitators. We are kind of trying to guide the ship in the way that we receive the transmission as the one that initiated this journey. And in the same time, there is something that we learned through the ReMENber journey is silent, listen. Because when we thought about it initially, there were 3 facilitators. Suddenly we saw the power of 4 facilitators, as Frank mentioned, because it pushed us to learn how to share power between us. And it's something we didn't even thought about necessarily so much before, but suddenly when we were in the journey, it just took us in. And also saying that when we are in the journey, we are transmitting something, and we will give you now a space for sharing a bit. But we are also feeling very much we are in the circle. We're going through many elements. We are jumping into the work. We are doing the exercise ourselves again and again and again. And I can say it also as an ISTA apprentice. I've been in many ISTAs already, and I'm still diving in, jumping in, and every time I get the medicine. Now, just before we go to breakout rooms with a few questions, I think the piece about the initiation, that there is something a bit scary about going through initiation. And you learn it when you look into the young, usually between 9 years old to 15 years old, in the different tribes, that they have to go through this fear. And I think a big piece of this fear is because many of us, when we choose to go through this initiation, never come back. Initiation is something that you will never come back. Yet, and...
Never come back the same, that's for sure.
Exactly. You never come back the same. You go forward from it. And not to be the way that we used for us, that it's normal for us to know ourselves. It's something that is very challenging. Okay, this initiation pushes me to face fears and to face myself and to face the world and to face the reality and to face the deep sources of my soul and heart. And this means I have to go deep inside the understanding of what is my challenges, what does it mean to be a man today in the world, what is my life purpose. And when I go to these places, I'm gonna meet the dragon, I'm gonna go inside the cave, and this dragon is fucking scary, because this is what we are being taught, that this dragon is scary. But we will touch into this dragon later today, very shortly from now. So now what we wish to do, because we love when brothers connect. When we go into ReMENber journey, the first 2 days is mostly about landing and connecting. So now when we have only 2 hours, we try to just give a short transmission. So we're going to go to breakout rooms. And in these breakout rooms, you just go with a few questions and you share between you. You choose who is sharing when. We have around 140 participants. So I think there will be 3 or 2 people in each room of film. And the question that I want you to take with you, and you will have around 7 minutes for all of you together, so just do a drop to essence and so on, is what is your challenges as a man? And what is your life purpose? What is your challenges as men today? When we start the ReMENber journey, we start with those questions. What are your challenges as men today? And kind of what do you feel is your life purpose in that? So we're going to go to breakout rooms, and we're just going to come back in around 7 minutes from now. And welcome forward. From a moment of visiting the rooms, apologies about whether it's happening or not, it's we are still learning how to do those breakout rooms and so on. But maybe just for a moment we can hear, and not hear, read in the chat, just a few drop-ins. Any kind of understanding that you understood, maybe something you were not reflecting before on this. I would love to have like just 3 words regarding to that. Resonance. Healing the divine between men and women. Blake, I love you. I'm not alone. Thanks, fuck, I'm not alone. Vision Quest. Power of exploring all emotions. Inside the challenge, the purpose lies. Yabu, good to hear you. Wow. Rusty, Tribe. Love. Beautiful. There is many.
It's just going on and on. So yeah, there's so much.
There is treasure there to read after. But Frank, take us forward, bro.
Yeah. So welcome back, everybody. So I'll just quick touch on some topics that are very popular in the ReMENber, or that we have heard come out a lot. I noticed in the chat window there was something on how to attract women and whatnot. It's a great topic, and we're definitely want to learn more about that. But I'll tell you that at ReMENber we don't really target like the player game. It has nothing to do with how to attain something from the other, actually. However, when you do the ReMENber journey and you do the work that I'm about to talk about, that's when there's an energetic and light shift in the way we hold ourselves. And I could tell you that is very attractive, and that can attract women. But in terms of like what's alive in terms of attracting women, we don't go there in ReMENber. It is really a heart journey and a collective heart journey. So some topics that have come up in the past that ReMENber is topics on power, pieces on where they're having challenges, accessing power, accessing the personal power, how holding power, not wanting to share power, or how to share power, or losing power, and what does that mean about us as men when we lose our power or we give up power. Another big topics are emotions and like how to deal with aggression, frustration with being stuck, dealing with pain and suffering. And then finally, we also have everything in regards to love, connection, flow, specifically on the topic of attachment, jealousy, and on the opposite side, compersion. Compersion being the opposite of jealousy, where you actually find happiness, or at the extreme pleasure in the pleasure and happiness of the beloved. Okay, so man's role in transformation. So man's role, or the masculine role in transformation, is the forward movement. It is the energy of progress. It is definitely in a evolutionary standpoint versus a more passive standpoint. You know, when we first came up with this talk, we were thinking of, yeah, let's go general, you know, man's role in transformation. Something is coming, what's coming, and we don't know. And so what do I have to be ready in order to have on the way into the unknown? And now this thing has happened, and we're living in post-COVID times. And so almost there's a feeling of me that wants to inject this call with a bit more than just this generality of men's role in transformation and say, what does like leadership look like in a time of crisis? And that's what we're living right now. So I'm going to shift a bit and just roll with me. But basically, what this crisis gave to me was a pathway into looking at how I react to situations. And like when a crisis happens or chaos or a storm comes rolling in, what is our role as men? What is it that we should be doing? And so this is kind of the pieces that I've come with, also just observing socially the patterns, as well as my own patterns and the patterns of those that I care around me. And the first thing I got when crisis happened was I recognized that there is a great need to acquire information. So we know that the masculine is really focused on knowledge, where the feminine holds the wisdom, or is playing with the experience of life and the intuitive feel of life. That is the wisdom piece. Men, masculine, they deal in the realm of knowledge and information. So in moment of crisis, the first thing we need to do is like figure out, what are we dealing with? Is it okay to like take it easy and take a nap, or do I have to be on my toes because I have to be in movement? I have to be in response to what is happening. So the first thing would have been like information gathering, and then it's like deducing all this information and acquiring information from vast places, not only one place, and having an open mind to really be able to go through information that looks like even nefarious or conspiratory. It's like, can I listen to all of it so that I can slowly distill what I feel is truth? After the information piece was the piece of going into silence, going into the quietness of the self to start to feel into what is really happening. And this listening that's happening is happening on two levels. And it could be in different sessions, of course. It's all happening at the same time and or compartmentalized. But there's this listening to the inner self. It's like, what's going on internally? How am I feeling? Is my emotion up? Am I scared? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? Am I sad? Am I depressed? What's going on in the inner worlds? Or am I completely clear, in my ease, centered and grounded? And a lot of times it's easy to trick ourselves into believing that we are centered and grounded and whatnot, but the moment we get a stimuli, boom, we get into reaction. And so reaction is a great flag to let you know that you are not you are not in emotional currency. You are not emotionally current. So when we are in reaction, like knee-jerk reaction to what is the stimuli that's coming to us, it tells us that we are not centered and grounded. And so what I said was, what we want to be able to do is respond. And a response can only happen once we've received the information, went into the silence of integrating all the stimuli that we have, and now before we could really go into figuring it all out, we must move from a very clear place. And that's this piece of being emotionally current. And being emotionally current means not being in reaction. And so how do we do that? Within ISTA and at ReMENber, we share tools that we call tools of emotional release. And when we are feeling what we call dense emotions, because there's no such thing as like bad emotion, like socially we like to say, oh, these heavier emotions are bad, and these more joyful emotions or light emotions are good. And at ReMENber, and with the brotherhood work, we don't judge emotion. We recognize that emotion is just energy that is asking to be moved. And any ignoring of this energy can only amplify it. And so to be current or to be relevant or to be even credible as a man, we must come from a very centered place. And this has been a big part of my personal journey as well. I'm very passionate. I grew up in an Italian family. We yelled when we weren't being heard, and we allowed the passion to overflow into the space. And this energy was often, when I took this energy into the real world, or ordinary reality, let's call it, I realized that it is actually aggressive and offensive and actually not very powerful. So I had to go through a whole deconditioning of myself, and I'm not saying I'm fully deconditioning, nor do I want to completely release it, because I feel that there's certain things that, you know, give me my special offering to the world. However, it's more aware and it's conscious. So the piece I realized was that when we come from an emotional place, even if it's passion, it is often misread as instability or anger. And so it's very important that we use these tools to come into our centeredness and come into a place of ease and meet the world from a place of ease and processed emotion versus what we could call emotional constipation. What I mean is that we have repressed and suppressed our emotions for, you know, our whole life, because as Nimai spoke in the first half of the talk, that it wasn't very appropriate for men to share their emotions. And so now we're recognizing that in order to be an integrated being, forget man or woman, we absolutely need to take responsibility of emotion. And this is why I was emotional at the beginning of this call, is because I saw so many brothers coming onto this call and feeling the call to say, hey, it is time for us to see each other and be seen by each other, because this is the only way we will normalize our life experience, which sometimes is not all roses and not all the machismo that we sell it to be. Because a lot of that machismo and all that stuff is coming from unresolved wounds from our childhood. And so man's role in transformation, if I were to name the high level one in these times, especially leadership in times of crisis, is our ability to hold, to increase our capacity to hold in times of crisis. So we all know that when we are amongst the beloved that is having an emotional experience and wants to release, you know, typically from the old masculine model, we'd come from the place of, I've got the answers, let me fix your problems. And I think it was Tim earlier in the chat who's spoken to, like, it bothers me when men like ignore their role in the pain of that women have experienced. And it's a good point that there is a responsibility, part of leadership, part of being in the transformation is the piece of accountability, is the piece of responsibility. But what we recognize is that when this energy is coming up, instead of trying to fix things, that we just allow people, women or whoever, beloveds, brothers, sisters, to have their expression without needing to change it or without needing to make it wrong. And the more we expand our capacity to hold the drama or to let the drama pass through us without clinging, the more that we can be relevant, because and allow this experience to move and create a bridge to connection. Because when we come from the fixing place, It's we're not really listening to the fact that they just need to be heard. And so I break down our capacity to hold in times of chaos in 3 points. Number one, we are less attached to the outcome being right, less attached to needing to fix things, less attached to anything that puts us in a position of opposition. Because the one thing that we have right now, that we need to know right now, is we are in a time that we need to listen to each other. We don't need to convince each other. If some people follow me, they'll hear that like I'm very much a provocateur. I like to put out topics. I put out ideas, controversial ideas. I'm not doing it to say I'm right and you need to follow what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's time to go into critical thinking. And I am open to being swayed and moved. But don't preach to me and don't push me in a corner and don't tell me what's right, because I just want the capacity to think openly for myself and be open. So less attachment to right and wrong. As I spoke about before, staying emotionally current. That is the number one tool that we can have in our pocket to be credible and to be impactful. Because when we are emotionally current and we're moving from a grounded space, we sound and are felt in a different way that is more easy to receive and more easy to listen to, versus the chaos and the jumbleness and the ramblings of a insecure or an uncertain reactive position. And finally, when we do this, it leads us to places of less overwhelm and less anxiety. So if we are in times of unknown and there are energies that are coming up, that is creeping up into our system, that is feeling that we are anxious about the unknown, that is also a call to go run some energy, go move, go use emotional release tools. And if you want to know about emotional release tools, because you haven't done ReMENber and you haven't done ISTA level 1, you could go to my Daring World podcast, very easy, frankmondoze.com. You go to the Daring World podcast, and in the Daring World podcast is a whole episode on the 7 tools to emotional release. So listen to that, practice that, and when you're feeling your body get charged, this is what you want to go to, so that when we're moving in the world, we're moving from a place of centeredness, which is power. When we are all reactive, we are spilling and giving away our power to whatever stimuli can touch us and trigger our fear response, our anxiety response. So that is our EGS, our emotional guidance system, that when we are feeling or hearing those rumble strips, driving on the road and veering off the road and hearing those rumble strips, that is your emotion, your dense emotions telling you, move your energy and come back to center. On that note, I'm going to pass on to Nimai, who's going to be speaking on the role of the heart.
And take a deep breath to Frank Mondoze.
Yeah, my energy is a bit different from Nimai. This is how we take you on a beautiful roller coaster. We blast you with energy, and then Nimai will cradle you. So here we go. The role of the heart is man's role in transformation.
Come, my brothers. There is a lot of potency in the transmission that was just delivered, and there is a deep importance in that, because as we look at the role of man in transformation, there is different kind of elements we have to acknowledge. The one thing that when we meet the world, and there was a lot speaking about it right now, I'm not alone. We usually meet the world from a place of a survival mode, and that I feel I'm alone in this world and nobody got my back, and it's just me trying to survive this crazy world. And then the result is usually a lot of reaction a lot of insecurity that comes. And there is a thought that I once thought to myself, which I really liked. So to go through this rite of passage, I would say, into the transformation, there is a role for men to connect between them. So there was a picture I imagined myself, the beautiful story most of us know, the knight on the white horse, or the knight or on the black horse, whatever you want. I like to be the black knight on the white horse. And usually this knight is coming alone to sweep the feminine off her feet and take her onto the infinity and beyond. There is something very lonely there, and there is something that is not embedded within a community, within a tribe. Now, suddenly the picture that I saw to myself, what happens when there is no one knight coming to swap the girl off her feet? There is a tribe of knights standing together. And if this knight, for example, is the chosen one, his tribe are taking him towards having his back. You're not alone here. We got your back. If you're gonna fall, we're gonna catch you. If you need to come up, we will give you our hand so we can raise you up again. And for me, this understanding about the romantic stories and how to decondition them and kind of create a new story, it's what started to shift and create a transformation of our role in this world. So we are jumping into this journey, and we are connecting, and we are landing, and we are connecting. This connection is just meeting one another and having some shared intimacy, vulnerability. And then when we get kind of a trust between one another, then we can jump to the other lip. And this one is hard, because this will be where all your dense emotions are coming into action. And Aid wrote here, emotion, emotion, energy in motion. This is what's happening. So you go into the shadows. And to have brothers, when you don't feel you're alone, and when you have brothers that can honestly reflect to you what they see, when they can honestly tell you, full-hearted, brother, I fucking love you, but I see that what you're doing right now doesn't serve you. I see that what you're doing right now is actually harming yourself or the others around you. For this, we need to have trust. And to have this trust between us, we need to meet and to go to the dragon cave together, to the shadow. And after we have all this journey, going through the connection, and we go through the shadow, then there is a place that we can start to meet from the heart. Now, what is the heart? We are talking about it in the journey of the ReMENber, that we have the 8 archetypes. Usually, some of you know the 4 archetypes, some know the 7 archetypes. We know the 8 archetype, and I even think the 8 archetype is one of the people over here. John Judge is a good example for an 8 archetype, but this for another conversation. In the 8 archetype, we have the one in the center. The one in the center is our heart, is the king. I'm not going to go now over the chakras and over the archetypes that we are deepening more in the journey itself. And I hope it will make you curious, because some of them are super relevant for all of you, probably, or at least for most of you. What happens when I'm allowing this king in time of crisis to rule from the heart? When the king rules from triggered heart, from unaware heart, then shit happens. And we can see it today in our society, in the politics. Those in the highest rank, those in the front that are leading us, in many moments you witness it and you say, how is it possible? How is it possible that a person that is leading a country, a society, a tribe, is so distant from their heart? They are so distant from their heart that people constantly are being pushed aside, stepped on. Politics is in the front. Money is our goal. And a king heart is the one that serves the kingdom, doesn't serve itself. I'm here to serve the kingdom. And a king's heart doesn't need to go into war with other kings. The opposite way around. What happens if when we feel the tribe that we can be as men, and when I feel each and every one of you as a king to his own kingdom? So the way that I know from before is that I'm going to war with you, because I want to have the best kingdom. I want to prove to be the best kingdom there is. But what happens if I meet the other king and we meet from the heart and I see him and I know him and I love him? Then I want the king to be the best that he can. If I meet Frank right now, I love his kingdom. I don't want to rule his kingdom. I have no need to rule his kingdom. He needs to rule his kingdom, and I want to empower him to be the best king that he can be for himself, as much as I know that he's going to be there for me to support me to be the best king I can be. And there was a word that Frank dropped. The word is compersion. It's a super relevant word that when we talk about brotherhood, about supporting. And the one way to describe it is the opposite of jealousy. And if you go more into depth of it, is the moment that I fully celebrate the love of the ones I love. So if I have so much love with Frank, for example, and I feel him in my heart, then when I see him succeed, when I see him conquer all the beautiful women, all the beautiful men, whatever we like, I celebrate this. And he smiles because he knows it's true. And he knows it's the other way around as well. What happens when I see him step within an organism I appreciate into leading? I celebrate this. I love it. There is no need for the jealousy there. There is a need for compersion, because the compersion is the one that actually comes from the heart. The jealousy cannot come from the heart. The jealousy comes from different kind of places in the body, usually with a lot of sickness in them. This is why we have the emotional release, so we can vibrate them, we can move them, we can release them, and step into a place that we can just feel our heart, and then we start to rule from the heart. So in some level, in some way, when we talk about the role of men in transformation today, is stepping from the heart, coming into the heart, and moving forward from this heart place, from this heart-centered. And what happens when we are able to do this? What happens when the world is falling apart around us or inside of us? What happens when we see shit happening around us? What happens when we see Mother Earth is calling for us? And this is a piece I want to deliver now. We talked about before because it's relevant. I'm going to go for a moment to the beginning and connect to this moment. Because we thought for so long not to feel. There is no place for our emotions. There is no place for us to fully allow ourselves to feel. If so, please do it in the corner and don't let anybody to see you. And of course, with the time of the evolution of our society, we are more and more able to step into this emotion. Suddenly, we're more able to cry in front of the other brothers, but still there is this imprint within us about this emotion. What happens when we are not taught or initiated to fully connect to our emotions? There is two things that happens. One of them is we got disconnected from ourselves. But the other thing, and this is a major part, we got separated from listening to the vibration of the feminine, of the earth, Mother Nature, everything that is happening all around us. We start to be indifferent to it. We don't care so much. We are mostly concerned about what's happening in our life, but we are less concerned what's happening around the world right now. Today in Sudan, they brought a law that decide to stop women. I forgot the name of it.
Female genital mutilation.
Thank you, Frank. This is something big that is happening around the world right now. And it's starting only because there is a big opening for listening that is being available for us. So there is those two parts that when we are not allowing ourselves to feel, we don't feel ourselves, we don't feel what our emotion speaks, but there is another layer that lays within that is that we're coming so indifferent of what actually the earth is asking out us to act forward. And there is a key for us, there is a God, there is a treasure for us over there. Because if we cannot listen to ourselves, we cannot listen to this universe, we cannot listen to the world, we cannot listen to the understanding that we are a part of everything. And then we don't necessarily, it will be hard for us to know what is actually our role, because our role will not come from the mind. Our role here will come as a transmission. Our role in this transformation will come from a deep listening of asking, okay, what do I need to do? What do I stand for? And how do I act it forward? There is constantly a guidance, there is constantly a support from the universe and everything that is around us. And if we don't want to go into the spiritual realms of it and all those energies, we can go more to the human part of it, is that we have our brothers to support this. We have the brothers that I allow them to guide me. What is our gift? What excites us? How do we meet ourselves in today's world? How do we meet the transformation that society is going through? Do we come from a center place? Do we come from a place that is actually able to sit in the void, to sit in the unknown, and is able to act from there? And what's the role of being surrounded with brothers all around you? Frank, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm feeling like this is such a beautiful coming to a landing place. I mean, there's so much to say, guys. You know this. We give 5 days on this, and we're trying to give a glimpse, a taste, a feel of the medicine that we could get when we sit with brothers and like really release all the noise of everything and just be with us. And the most interesting thing that came out of the ReMENber journey at the end is like we had this celebration and it was over and we met with our sisters again and there was all the aliveness. I literally thought that I was gonna be like, And what I realized was when I met the women, it was like, oh, I need some more time. I need some more time here. I really am still in the energy of the bros. And I don't have brothers, I had 2 sisters. So really to drop into that place of camaraderie and unity, you know, love equals unity, fear equals separation. So think about how we've met our brothers in the past when we're often in competition, or it's either I get it or you get it. It's win-lose. This is separation. There's nothing about this culturally that speaks from the heart that Nimai was just talking about and speaks from the love. So it's like even now as men, how do we learn to come from that heart and that love and see where we could come into unity with our bros versus in opposition or manipulation? So that's my last word for the moment. But what I'm feeling, bro, is that I would like to open to either questions or sharings. We have about a half an hour. So maybe we do that for 10 to 15, 20 minutes, depending what the pulse is. And then we could bring it into a conclusion.
Okay, good. So just before that, there is something I want to relate. Also, it's connected to a question that that somebody asked me privately. This journey is designed for the ones in the male bodies. You can identify yourself as anything you want. You can be also non-gender. You can be whatever you feel that you want to be. And we also had in the group those who felt themselves for a period of their times as gays, those that felt themselves a period of the time of non-sexual, those that felt non-sexual binaries. I don't remember exactly. Frank know how to say it.
I'm just tracking where you're going. So there's some people that were feeling like they've explored their homosexual experiences. There's other people that don't identify to gender.
I know. I see it. Thank you, Blake. I love you, Blake. Non-binary. Thank you, Blake. You're amazing. Blake is one of the brothers, also a part of the ReMENber team, and stepping into very soon, we hope. So there is a place for everyone. This journey is designed for the ones in the male bodies, because there is the imprint that you receive as being a spirit within a male bodies. Then from this point, doesn't matter how you identified yourself. I would say even more, it's a gift to have within a circle of brothers, within a journey of brothers, to have those who feel attraction for men, who feel attraction for both sides. And me, myself, feel attraction for both sides. Doesn't matter how I play it out. I still have my process on this, but there is this attraction. So really, from all of the heart, everyone are welcome to that.
We celebrate the diversity. We definitely
celebrate the diversity, and we see it as a gift to the field. So the one last thing before we go to the question is this: there is this moment that we kind of close the ReMENber journey, and we kind of tune into what is our purpose, I would say, in life. And we only come to this question after we are able to go through the process. So even now, to ask ourselves here this question, that's a very big question. Yet you can have different answers that will constantly change. So just be aware, just listen to them. But the thing about asking this question only in the end is because you go through all those gates, you go through all the process, you go through all the portals, you go through different kind of initiation, that once you meet those questions, you meet it from a place that is more in ease, more in relaxation, and feeling embedded within a tribe and within a community. And this makes a lot of difference for any kind of choices that you will choose afterwards. So I want to open it for a question.
Please speak to your transition to an impassioned version of yourself that was toned down, but without losing the essence, conditioning, or associations. I'm an Arab man, 2 sisters, challenged, divorced, experienced, and fearful of my anger. So bro, first of all, thank you for your honesty. This is what we're looking for. It's like we all have those challenges, and if we bring them up, this is how we can shine some light. I too was very afraid of my anger as well, so much so that I held a lot of shame around it, and a lot of negative and destructive thoughts, actually. So to answer your question in terms of how did I become, how am I more like accessible, I would say. So as you could tell, my passion is not toned down. To me, that my passion is my aliveness. What I track instead is my come from. What is my come from? Is my come from trying to change your mind? Is my come from trying to dominate the conversation? Is my come from manipulating, using my passion and my energy and my expression to quiet other people down. When I look at these, I'm like, oh, if I'm coming from those places, those are the times where I need to stay quiet, actually discipline myself to actually not talk in those moments. Because not speaking or not winning or not getting your point understood, what I have learned, does not say that you're a bad person or a dumb person or an ignorant person or wrong for that matter. It means that you've just saved your energy from spilling it into a pipeline that doesn't have great return on your investment. So I have learned to share my energy where it is invited, where it is celebrated, and where it or tolerated. Like I'm willing to bring my energy where people are open-minded, don't love what I'm saying, but allowing me to say it because it's important. The other piece I use is I give people a lot of permission to tell me to pause or to stop because I'm not attached. So if people can't handle it anymore, just tell me to pause and I'll pause. I'm not attached. And the final piece that I used to link to my non-attachment is I've used humor, because humor recognizes that, you know, we don't have to be right, we don't have to be wrong. In the end, bottom line, what I want to drive to everybody is that this is all what they call the Maya or the Leela. It's the grand play, it's the grand show, and you are the main character. And what you are feeling and what you believe and all your limited storylines is the projector projecting this grand drama on the screen that is your life. So it is only as dramatic as you choose to let it be. I have started to come and meet the world from a place of the play, where it doesn't matter that if I'm right or wrong, all is happening in divine accordance. So I'm not trying to change the divine.
Uh-huh.
Anybody else even have sharings or questions? Please unmute yourself and come on, and we'll try to go one-on-one.
I see one. How do we develop emotional centeredness in the moment when triggered, and using emotional release tools in a when it's not appropriate? So again, like there is a lot of people sharing here that how do we move those emotions, and this is one of the things that it's kind of the foundation of what we give the transmission within ISTA and within the ReMENber, and I'm sure that within different kind of groups. And there are tools, and I think a big piece in all of that, because there is also the piece of what Robert was mentioning about not knowing what is my purpose, and maybe not even wanting to know what is my purpose, is, and it's connected to blame and shame, is to release the expectation of myself to constantly being able to control it. It's release the expectations that I'm always able to move my emotions. I'm always able to vibrate those emotions, and I always have to know what is my purpose and so on. I don't. But I am committing, and maybe this is a piece of my purpose that I'm sharing here with you here, to listen. I can honestly say that I have different things that I saw, but one of my life purpose and one of my commitment between me and the creation, or as I call her, the big mother, and whoever wants to know more about it is welcome to ask me personally, but it's just to continue listen. And I think it's the hardest job I've ever done in my life. More than being a father, more than being anything, is just to be able to listen. It's hard in a world that is constantly on the move. So there are tools to how to move this energy in a way that serves and doesn't harm others. And I see Frank maybe wants to touch into that.
Yeah, so I think what I'm understanding from the question as well, it's like there was two questions similar, and they were like, how to deal with that in a moment where I'm furious, but I can't, or I'm feeling emotion, but I can't allow the energy to move because I'm in front of people. I've gone to like silence and stillness and self-love, like self-care energetically, and or excused myself, went to the washroom, put myself in a stall, and did emotional release there at the hand scream. There's two other great questions, Nimai, that I want to touch on, and I want to kind of put them together.
Go
the
for
first one was, how do I deal with the death rebirth process, which is quite interesting, I'll say, and then I'll open to Nimai. And then there's another question in the different types of initiation. Actually, I'll start there. So the different types of initiation, what I have found on the shamanic path is five main initiations. The first one is the initiation into understanding life from the spiral path. So you know what a spiral is? It's a circle that keeps on opening and going open, versus a linear path. The linear path is I do A, I get to B, I go to C, I go to D. It's a straight line, and it's like timeline. This is not the shamanic path. The shamanic is spiral, meaning we come again and again to the same topic until we clear it. So that's the first initiation, coming into the spiral path. The second initiation is about the family of origin, or your inner child work, or what it is to acknowledge the inner child and recognize the pains and the wounds and do the work related to the inner child to move that. That's another initiation that we work on. A third initiation is what we lightly touched on. We didn't go deeper, but I put a link in the chat, was about shadow. How do we deal with shadow? Shadow being those repressed or ignored or forgotten parts that wreak havoc in our life that we choose to not look. They're in the back of us. They're not really in our consciousness. So really going into the shadow work, another initiation. The fourth initiation is the inner beloved. It's like, instead of moving through the world, seeing the world or the outside woman or man as the desire to acquire them so that I can be in love and be filled and be met, my other half, my better half. It's releasing that idea and coming into the journey of discovering, courting, and falling in love with our own inner feminine and masculine, so that they can marry and they can be integrated and they could come together. That's an initiation. And then the final initiation that we like to touch on is sacred purpose. It's this piece of how do we drive you or support you to go from a personality that is running through the world, doing the check boxes and acquiring all the things, versus releasing the need to be successful and actually moving from what your soul is calling, your soul purpose, your sacred purpose. So allowing that to move through. And so when we talk about the death initiation, like what can I tell you about death rebirth initiation? It's like, well, that is the initiation. The letting go of the life, letting go of the attachment, letting go of the pain associated to not having gotten what you wanted and or being seen the way you wanted, and mourn it and mourn it and let it die some more, and marry the emotional release tools to allow this peace that we're holding on to completely dissolve and release. And then in that moment, it is only then that you can start to step into the world fresh, to see with fresh eyes, fresh heart, fresh being what it is, the joys and opportunities and beauty and grandeur of life. But we cannot get there if we are holding on to the suffering related to the attachment of something that we did not get our way in. And I'm sorry, bros, it hurts. You have the right to feel the pain, but from a powerful transformational point, you do not have the right to stay in the suffering, because that is a sin. You are draining your energy that we need in the circle. We need in the line, our role is to hold the line, to be the first line of defense for the transformation of the planet, creating place for women to step up and rise and take power and share power, and allowing them with their heart and their energy to contribute to the story and the narrative and see what their beauty can bring. And it is our responsibility to be the front line for children, to protect and defend them, make sure that they don't have another 50 vaccines that they need to put in their body at newborn age or whatnot. I mean, that's a controversial perspective. It could be your sacred purpose, not mine. I don't have children. But at the cornerstone, my point is that children are vulnerable, and if we are not looking out for their best interest, us men front line, who will?
Drop mic.
Yes, Alexis. Feel the pain, move the pain, go deeply into the pain completely, but recognizing that the suffering is optional. Pain comes with love because our heart wants to attach to something that is not ours and will never be ours, whether it be a beloved or a child.
For me, it feels like taking a deep breath into that. And maybe this is the kind of closing of the conversation, because we can go to endless amount of questions right now.
I agree, Nimai. So take it away. Bring it to it. Let's bring it home for the 100 men that stuck with us, the 2/3 of the group. Thank you very much. Nimai, take us home, and remember to plug the stuff.
What are we doing in response for a global crisis? What is our... No, it's kind of like, just take it forward. But what are we doing in response of the global crisis, and what is our commitment? And the global crisis starts within. This is where it starts. We can go external, and it's important to look at the external, and at the same time, we cannot abandon ourselves on the way, on this path. And knowing that we have the brothers that surround us, that we can receive this full support, this reflections, this mirror, this shoulder, this hand that supports you to rise up when you need, it's something so relevant in these days. And I hope you got a few key points for the continuous of your journey, because this journey that we are on, this is the grand finale. This is the grand initiation. This is the initiation, our life, our journey. This is the initiation. Within this big initiation, we will have many small initiations that it's only our responsibility, and it's only our actions. Do we decide to take those initiations, or we like to fall asleep? And one of my greatest teachers, a man from Colombia, says, never go to sleep. Go to rest. Rest yourself, but never go to sleep. Always stay awake. And it doesn't have to be with a lot of weight on it. So I hope that the initiations that we are going through will be those that we need. And I hope that we carry from this conversation a place that asks, what do I stand for? And it can be, I stand for myself. This is a good place to start. I stand for myself, and when I stand to myself, for myself, then I can take the values of what I believe in and go outside external and stand for them over there. It was a pleasure having you, brothers. And I hope we will meet also face to face in one moment.
Thank you. I want to, really just add one piece, that part of the journey, this journey is the initiation. Yeah, it's like the reason we're here is we're here to learn to love so purely that we don't have to be taken in the dramas. That's the journey. So the fact that we are in the dramas is not abnormal, it's the process. So I would say, trust the process, stay committed to, like Nimai said, choosing yourself first. And when we're talking about that, We're talking about the selfishness that leads us to take care so that we have the capacity to move out in the world as an asset and not a deficit, and not being like draining the power and bringing other people into sleep, but doing the self work so that we can show up powerfully with our heart and with our truth, and learn along the ways how to greater and greater and greater come to love. So on that note, I want to always invite you that you could always reach out to me, Nimai, Gilly, for support. I'm pretty sure we will be available for a very fair exchange in these times. Somebody sent to me a message saying, how about we create something during COVID times, an online ReMENber? Maybe we think of an abridged online ReMENber, bro, that we could take everybody on a small journey, 2 to 3 days, a few hours a day, affordable. So that's something. And so the invitation is to go to ReMENberjourney.com to be kept aware of all our news. And yeah, so the next ReMENber coming up is in Montreal in October. Let's hope that borders will be open.
27 in September.
In end of September, correct. Yes, Montreal, end of September. And it's going to be in Montreal. Nimai is going to be here. The whole original team is going to be here if everything goes well. So inviting you to register for that. And if for whatever reason it can't happen, or you're afraid to actually come through, we are happy to completely give you a full refund. We understand the current times. So feel free to apply, get your place reserved. There's only space for about 20-25. So move on that. So ReMENberjourney.com. We are here. We are here in alignment with you, and we look forward to learning more from you so that we can share what we learned from you with all the other brothers that we meet in the world. Thank you. Aho. Nimai, let's see your baby.
This is the next generation.
The next generation.
And there was a question about Berlin. Most likely Berlin will be cancelled because everybody, at the moment, everybody that's going to Europe needs to go to 2 weeks quarantine. So thank you so much, brothers. Whether we meet face to face or here in the online, we are blessed for that. And really, as Frank said, please reach out for us. There is many beautiful brothers. I know Blake is here. Reach out to Blake and other beautiful brothers. Starhawk. And the tribe is growing, and we have also the intentions to take ReMENber into annual meetings of all the graduates and into annual kind of offerings for the earth. So each person that is participating with ReMENber also one time a year, do something for the earth. It's super relevant. So we give back gratitude for our mother, for everything that she provided us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro. Hi, baby. What's her name again? Remind us.
His name.
Sorry.
Is Mayu O, Celestial River.
Thank you. So on that note, if you feel like this talk has supported you or you enjoyed it, please feel free to talk about us on social media. We don't mind it. You could link ReMENberjourney.com. You could link whatever you want. We are happy to receive your testimonials, and not for us to feel good about ourselves, but sometimes the words you say touch people in a way that they didn't know that they could access through us. And you might be the portal to people joining us, whether it be in ReMENber or ISTA or whatnot. We are counting on the whole tribe to get this message across. So on that note, as I usually say, let love free. It's the only way we'll ever change anything.